snacks aside, what did you make of this film?
Well, it's not a snack. Let's start there.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think I'm going to invite it to a McCartney party after this review, but great premise. Abbey Road Studios, legendary space, legendary kind of infused with history and creativity, music, film scores, personalities.
Pilgrimage for people around the world every single day.
Literally. It's not really about Abbey Road Studios. Like, I don't understand what this film is because it's really not about anything. It's so unbelievably shallow. There is no story to it. I fully don't know why Mary McCartney wanted to do this outside of the fact that she is a daughter of a Beatle, so she kind of sort of grew up in this place, which is an interesting point of view. For sure. And, you know, it's incredibly privileged inside relationship and an intimate relationship to a space that is a cultural mecca for a lot of people. None of that is in there. We just get a few photographs of her, you know, as a child with the backdrop of the studios. There's no in-depth knowledge or learning made about Abbey Road Studios, its history, or even the people who work there. That was my biggest disappointment. We just get this sort of throwaway lines like, you know, Ken Townsend, who worked there for 50 years and was responsible for a lot of the survival, the renaming of Abbey Road Studios. Not just, oh yeah, he worked there for 50 years. There's an engineer who is, you know, fixing a 50-year-old microphone that someone accidentally broke. Nothing, just a little, hey, what you doing? Nothing else. So it's, you know, you have all these glittery faces. You've got obviously Paul McCartney, you've got Elton John, you know, you've got Jimmy Page pops up, David Gilmour pops up. And I'm like, okay, great, good for you. You're fantastic, legendary musician, some of my favorite musicians ever, talking about the way that they recorded their seminal albums in that space. And what? What's next? What are you telling me about the space? There's nothing there. It is, I actually found it for a scanned 90 minutes that the film runs. I found myself consistently looking at the runtime. I was like, oh, is it over yet? It's running so slow and it is so utterly vacuous and pointless that I genuinely the creative space that is a recording studio. And, you know, you're a musician. I'm not a musician. I'm in awe of musicians who are just going to a studio and able to conjure up. I think it's magical, you know, being able to hear something in your head and find the way to transform it into a reality. And it's a beautiful combination of musical artists and producers and sound engineers and that alchemy that happens in a recording studio as, you know, you adjust all these different things. And there's a moment in the film where they sort of are an audio engineers playing around with a Beatles song, the Sgt. Pepper from the Sgt. Pepper album. And you're like, oh my God, you know, if you change this, the song is completely different, doesn't work as well. So how do you make magic? There's no magic in this documentary, which is a real disappointment because you would think, and especially within the larger cultural conversations around so-called Nepo babies, if you have the access and you have this unbelievably privileged access, make good use of it. And this is not good use of it.
Rewind on Nepo babies.
Nepo babies are, you know, this is, it's been in the cultural conversation a lot over the past 6 months. It's essentially nepotism babies. It's some children of very established, very influential people. Obviously, that gives you a leg up, especially in the creative industries, which are notoriously unbelievably hard to get into, let alone survive or thrive in them. So I'm not saying I'm against that or not. I think there is a responsibility that comes with any privilege. And if your privilege in particular is access, I've been given this opportunity to make a documentary about one of the most important recording studios and cultural spaces in the history of music, that's a responsibility. And I think it denotes an unbelievable level of hubris if you don't take it seriously, if you don't go deep into it and respect and understand the process. If you don't know anything about it, fine, there's a question mark. Explore it. Delve into it. Talk to people who, you know, be curious about the people who made that space what it is. I don't actually care that much about the famous faces that pop up. I don't really care about the anecdotes. Why does, you know, the fact that Syd Barrett had a mental breakdown randomly pop up in the middle of the film? That's completely irrelevant. What's relevant is the stuff, the the magical concoctions that were being created in the studio, the way that, as someone in the documentary put it, the space is infused with music that has been created there, like a teapot becomes infused with, the taste of teas as it's brewed in there.
Yeah, I wanted more of that.
There's none of that there. And I think it makes me sad because we probably won't get another Abbey Road documentary for a long while, and this will be the one. And it makes me sad that this opportunity has been wasted in a film that has nothing to say and has no curiosity about the space and doesn't even have the wherewithal to actually speak to people who make up the soul of the space.
Well, there you have it, people. That was a Bogutskayan rant. I think I've witnessed one before. I can't remember what film it was. But,
I don't remember either, but I do think there was one.
I've definitely witnessed one before. I love it. It's mesmerizing.
Well, now, that was a great video, I thought, wasn't
Couldn't
it?
take my eyes off it.
And neither could they.
Do you think they know that they can keep up to date with all things Kermode and Mayo's take by checking out our social channels?
Well, they do now.
Yes, they do.